All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 299. Episode 299 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. And look, on Monday, we'll be at episode 300. I may do something special. I don't know. Don't have anything planned right now, but we may do something. It just depends on how I feel over the weekend. And we'll just go from there. But I want to thank you guys. I mean, everybody from the beginning that started out when it wasn't this style of podcast up until now. Almost at 300. I really appreciate you guys. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you guys to the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. Everything has just been going great. Great week. It's been a pretty good week. In this episode, we're going to try to merge everything together. We talked a lot about Georgia Southern football. We also talked a little bit about the Falcons with Cordell Patterson. But we're going to talk about the GM of the Atlanta Falcons, Terry Fontenot, his plan for this offseason and how that's going to be playing out as far as signing free agents and or the guys in the draft. And we're also going to talk about Eldrick Robinson, Georgia Southern linebacker, entered the transfer portal. What does that mean for the team? How does that play out for Eldrick Robinson himself and everything under that umbrella? So we're going to get into all that. If you're listening over here on YouTube or Rumble, welcome. If you don't mind, hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to the podcast side of things, Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, or Google, all those areas, that's where the podcast it lands. And maybe in other places too, just depends on how the algorithm moves the podcast. If you're there, subscribe to the podcast, give me a 5-star rating on the Apple iTunes side of things, or if wherever the rating is, give me a good rating. Let me know how I'm doing, and also give me some feedback. Finally, if you want to donate, the link is down in the description for all the areas you can donate. And I also have a Patreon where we do have an extra episode every weekend that talks about other things outside of Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. All right, got that all out the way. Let's go ahead and get into this. I want to talk about Terry Fontenot first, because we talked a lot about Georgia Southern. So I want to talk about what the Falcons are planning on doing under his vision for 2022. How is that going to play out when it comes to free agency? What it comes out when it comes to the draft and everything under that umbrella? Well, Terry Fontenot basically said they're looking for value. They want the type of player that they got out of, the type of players that they got out of Cordell Patterson. Now, that's going to be tough because Cordell Patterson pretty much is something that not many see in the league. I mean, I think the closest thing we got right now is Deebo Samuel, and I think those two are the only ones that really do what they do in the way they do it. I guess that makes sense, but nevertheless, they do a pretty good job of running the ball and catching the ball, not out the backfield or as a wide receiver. It's just something that is hard to find. But if you're trying to find those things in other positions, I'm not going to say it's hard to find on defense, because you can find hybrids on defense, but on offense, it's going to be pretty difficult. So I don't know how that's going to play out. But as far as value goes itself, I think you can find some good talent for the cheap in football. I think, you have to pay the cost to have elite players, but you can find some pretty decent players that can fit your scheme under the radar and under the salary cap and basically under the base salary of most of these positions. So I think that what Terry Fontenot's trying to do is basically trying to be, cap friendly and trying to find a way to win at the same time. I think I saw a tweet somewhere, it probably was on the Atlanta Falcons Twitter, saying they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, and it's they're rebuilding and winning now. Yeah, I mean, this is the way I look at it. I think nowadays, as far as picking up, players, when you're building a team, you still want to find ways to win football games. It's not just say, hey, we're building, so therefore we're not trying to win any games. You want to get those guys that you're bringing in to be, ready to win or learn how to win. And I think that is a way of building up the type of players you want to be. You don't want these guys just to learn how to play football, but just always just learning how to lose. I mean, or just always losing. I mean, are you really, doing, something, productive if you're just getting players out there to constantly try to lose games? Now, I'm not saying that a lot of these teams or a lot of players out there trying to lose, but there's been such a mentality when it comes to players getting out there and the management, ownership are, tanking just to get better draft picks later. I don't see this happening with this team. And it showed last year when they won 7 games. They had no business winning that many games, but they found a way to do so. So I feel like that's going to continue what they're trying to do. And with, the team that's already assembled now, you get some more players on defense, you get a pass rush. And I'm still a big fan of getting somebody better to run the ball in the backfield because I like Cordell Patterson. I like Mike Davis. But I feel that we can get a fresh set of legs with better, I ain't going to say better vision, but with a different type of vision to run the ball out of the backfield to help Matt Ryan out. So this is a situation where there are some pieces that Terry Fontenot want to get. They're going to try to get them at a pretty good price. And that could bode well for a lot of guys that are free agents. If you're trying to find value, what does this mean for a Foye Oluokun? What does this mean for a Calvin Ridley or Russell Gage? What does that mean? Do you try to get those guys for the cheap? I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, especially with Foye Oluokun. He's probably scheduled for a big payday. They may make it happen, but I'm really, really interested to see how they do that. As far as what I was about to say, as far as Calvin Ridley goes, I don't even know how that's going to play out. They asked Terry Fontenot about Calvin Ridley, and Terry Fontenot basically said you have to ask Calvin Ridley. And I understand that because his health comes first, not necessarily what's on the football field. And I already said it. Personally, I just feel like they just need to go ahead and cut ties with them and go ahead and find a suitor that wants to trade for him and get a second-round pick for him, maybe even the first. I personally feel he may have an issue with his mental health. I feel that he does. But I think that also has something to do with him playing for the Falcons is the reason why. That's just my personal assessment because I feel like, I personally feel like he doesn't want to be on the team. And if you have somebody that don't want to be on the team, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? I mean, that's just like at your job. If you found somebody at your job that don't want to work and you're a manager and they, basically walk out on you at a job and say, hey, I'm not feeling great or whatever the case may be, what are you going to do? I think the main thing is to make sure they get help, but you got somebody to fill that void. That's just the way I feel about that. It's not a knock on him, but it's just, at the end of the day, you have to try to win football games. You need the best players available, and you need players that are available. So I think that's another thing that Terry Fontenot is trying to lean on. Is like, hey, we want players that's going to be available, that's going to have a fair market value for them, that they're going to feel is fair. So when they do sign with the Falcons, it's just a mutual agreement that, hey, they feel like they're making, enough for their salary and they're going to produce at a high level. You get those two things together, you're gonna find success. And the Falcons, I feel like the season was successful, but to be really truly successful, they were basically 2 games away. They were 2 games away of being over 500. And for a team that with the situation and issues that they had, losing number 11, losing number 18, the offensive line wasn't working as well. Mike Davis wasn't the running back we thought he'd be. The secondary outside of A.J. Terrell was just, below average at best. Not just average, they were below average at best. So with everything that happened for them to win 7 games was nothing short of phenomenal. And I feel that, Coach Arthur Smith deserves a lot of credit with that. With year 2, when you weed out some of these players that didn't pan out, players that don't want to be here anymore, you want to move around a little bit, I think that they're going to be able to have much more success down the road. So I basically look at it like this. I have no problem with what Terry Fontenot is doing. I think it's going to be a really good offseason for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't see why not. I don't see how that's going to be an issue where it can't be. So if they just play their cards right with the number 8 pick, they got 2 second-round picks, possibly another one if they do what they do with Calvin Ridley, they can get some really good value with what they're doing. Regardless of who they pick up, I think they can get some, because this draft is talented. I don't think it's as talented as pass rushers people say they are. I think there's a lot of pass rushers, but there's not like one or two that stand out. Same thing with defensive backs. Out there, Stingley, who's there, Ahmad Gardner. After that, there's a fall off. But I do feel like Gardner and Stingley are like, they're probably like can't miss players. We talked about Drake London, the receiver. Well, they throw a curveball and go get him, because we do need a receiver. So what do they do? I think if they get London, that's just going to tell you how they really feel about Calvin Ridley. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel about that. Offensive line. There's not many in the off. It's not really that many good. I ain't gonna say good, but not many offensive line men that really would make you want to take them at 8. But you mostly look at pass rush or offensive linemen because it's a necessity. It's probably like the main necessity because the game is played in the trenches. But I just don't know if they'll go that route. I personally believe they'll go with pass rush or somebody on defense, with Drake London being the curveball for everybody. So that's how I really feel about, with Terry Fontenot and company. I think they're in really good shape, really, really good shape. And we'll see how that all plays out down the road, weeks, months to come, because the draft is in a month, a little over a month. So it's going to be real cool and interesting to see. Let's jump over to Eldrick Robinson. Georgia Southern linebacker Eldrick Robinson enters the transfer portal, and I'm late to the party. I will admit I am late to this because I did not expect that he would join and get into the transfer portal. This kid has a lot of talent. He did some great things filling in when the other linebackers went down last year, and I thought that he was going to end up being a staple for the defense along with the other guys who came in. But when you have a lot of veterans returning on at linebacker, Trent Watson, Bradley Glenn is coming back. You got a couple of guys like not Vonner, but what's the other guy from Florida State, Kevon Glenn. You got the other one from North Carolina. I can't remember his name. You have those two guys transferred in last year. Then you got some new guys coming in that was recruited. Eldrick Robinson is kind of like stuck in the middle. As a sophomore, he's stuck in the middle. Like, okay, the veterans are here and the new guys are coming in. My potential is to be a starter. He may not even be able to be a starter with the veterans, with the 5 and 6 year seniors coming back. You also have these young guns coming in. He may not get to see the light of day when it comes to the field. So I do understand it. I do get it. And I will say it's a huge loss because he did some great things. But when you have all these other linebackers coming in, I can see why he wants to leave, and I can see that there's not going to be that much of a drop off. Based on everybody being healthy, I feel that there's not going to be much of a change at linebacker. But at the same time, you will want him to be here, because I think he could be one of the great Eagles when it's all said and done. He's gotten offers at other places. I think FAU, Mid Tennessee, a couple of these other schools have offered him a spot. And with Chad Lunsford being at FAU, I think he's at FAU. Is he at FAU? I think he is. With Chad Lunsford being down there, Florida Atlantic, he may go there. So that's just something to think about. So I would not be surprised at all. I would not be surprised. Let me look at this and make sure. So I gotta find out if let's see. Yeah, there he is. All right, sorry for the hold up, everybody. Yeah, he's at FAU. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going there. So I look at the end of the day, this is a business move for him, and I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. I think he will be able to prosper and flourish under these conditions. But I just really feel that it's a loss for Georgia Southern at the same time. Now I flip that and say, well, all these linebackers coming in, we got a handful of linebackers that's going to be, freshmen. Rotating those guys in and out. He's kind of, like I say, he's kind of stuck in the middle. I mean, the Kevin Speeds of the world, and there's a couple other ones that was linebackers. There's so many to name. I think linebacker is probably one of the one between that quarterback and offensive line. I don't even know how to count, but I think the linebacker is one of the biggest position or the most numbered position that we had recruits that committed. So I really see why this is happening. I just think at the end of the day, we're going to find out what happens, because there's a possibility he said he may return. If the offers ain't hitting for him the way they want to, he may return. And, that's just more firepower to what we have at Georgia Southern. I feel that you can't have enough guys on defense. Definitely can't have enough cornerbacks. Shout out to Quincy Bonner moving from quarterback to cornerback. You just can't have enough guys on defense. The rotation, the athletic ability, the guys who need to continuously need to be fresh when you rotate guys in and out, it is never enough. But I do understand where he's coming from. I think he put up the numbers to say, hey, I'm good enough to play, to be a starter here, and I may not feel like I could be a starter with the guys that are coming back. And I understand that. Bradley Glenn and I think Justin Ellis is another one. I mean, you got a lot of guys. You got a couple guys there that already made a name for themselves. Even though Robinson is up and coming, you got guys that made a name for themselves. Those guys are probably going to be first dibs of getting on the field. Me personally, I'm not a football player. I played a little bit, but I'm not a football player anymore. I feel that you should go out there and compete. May the best man win. And if you don't win this, I mean, what does it say? You at the minimum, you're probably going to be rotated in and out and not being a starter. But you may want to be that number one guy, and that's probably one of the reasons why he is transferring. I firmly believe that he would just be a great asset by rotating in and out with the older guys and newer guys. In next year's junior year, he definitely will be a starter. So that's what I really feel. I feel like if he sits back and go and let this play out for the sophomore season, because he played the freshman because of a lot of injuries, and he did very well. Player of the week, 1 a week. He does this. I ain't gonna say sit back or sit out for a season, because I still feel like he's gonna get some playing time as far as I'm concerned. Because I don't know how Will Harris is going to do it, the defensive coordinator, but I know at Georgia Southern, we rotated a lot of linebackers in and out. We did a pretty good job of doing that. And if he does that for a sophomore year, when, the other linebackers move on and their eligibility is up, he's going to be the guy that slides right in. Even as getting numbers as a sophomore, he'll come in and be the guy. So there's so many variables that you can run with this, but I feel at the end of the day, he's doing what he has to do, what's best for him. I totally respect that. I feel at the end of the day, he's going to be great regardless. I'm just going to continue to watch him either way. I gave him a lot of praise on this channel. I did a GS Spotlight video on him. Next man up, he did what he had to do. With all these injuries going on, he did what he had to do. Had a couple of interceptions, a handful of tackles. He played ball, and he did very good. And that's all you can ask for when it comes to these players, regardless of if they're a freshman to a senior. They do what they have to do. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to follow and see how that goes, and I think he's going to be all right either way. I think Georgia Southern's going to be all right. Either way, both sides is going to be good. Both sides are going to be good, but I really wish he would stay an Eagle. So we'll see how that all plays out. This concludes episode 299. If you like this content, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the YouTube or Rumble channel if you don't mind. Follow me on Rumble. If you're listening to any of this content on the podcast avenues, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Also, give me some feedback. Let me know what I did well. Let me know what I need to improve on. It's all thanks to you guys. You guys make this go. I really, really appreciate it. Subscribe to the podcast avenue if you haven't already. Also, the audio or the video side of things. And if you don't mind, if you want to take a look at everything, check out the Patreon where I do an extra episode on the weekend. And there's other areas over there which you can donate if you choose to you choose to do so. So everything's on the up and up. I hope you enjoyed this week. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the beginning and throughout your weekend. And we'll be back on Monday, episode 300. We have something to talk about for the most part. And I can't wait for you guys to join me. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy. Have a great weekend. Y'all be blessed. See you on the next one. Peace.